This is a unique video I'm doing today because I'm getting to go behind the scenes and show you guys what it's like with someone who's been a performer here in Las Vegas on the Strip at one of the most iconic properties there are here at the Bellagio. Folks, we have Whitney Phoenix joining us here today. So you're gonna talk some about his life, how he got here to Las Vegas, his early life, what it's been like for him to be performing here for as long as he has, and some cool backstory and all that sort of thing. So Whitney, thanks for coming.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Oh, happy. This is unique. I think, for the millions of people who come to Las Vegas every year that especially come through the Bellagio that have heard your music, but have never got to hear from you or see the person behind it, I think this is something cool. So I'm glad we're able to get this set up. So let's go ahead and start with just the beginning, right? When you're a kid, how you got into playing piano, and how you eventually landed here in Las Vegas.
Well, I was raised in Vermont, and as a child, I was always fascinated with puzzles, brain teasers, that type of thing. And one day my dad was coming home from work and passed a yard sale. He saw an old piano sitting out in the yard. He said, "Hey, how much you want for that piano?" I go, "Well, I'll take $40. He says, "I'll give you 20 if you help me put it on my truck." So he did, and he took this piano home, stuck it in the corner, and I gravitated to it right away. And to me, it was the greatest puzzle I'd ever seen. And I know that's true because I'm still trying to figure the darn thing out today. So I got really good at it really fast. And by the time I was 10 years old, my fate was sealed. I was going to be a piano player. No one ever told me it would behoove me to learn how to make a living or, do something that would support me. But I was always encouraged, "Oh, you play so great. Keep playing the piano." And I never stopped.
Well, so from the age of 10 going forward, once you got out of high school, you stayed, obviously, with music.
I did.
And after high school, you went
I went to college for piano.
Okay.
I went to a school called Oberlin in Ohio. It's a conservatory of music and a liberal arts college, both. And I was there for 2 years, and I was really disenchanted with just where my life was and what was happening. So I dropped out of school and joined the Marine Corps, which doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but it was the greatest thing I'd ever done because I was a lost soul. I didn't know where I was headed, and the Marines gave me a direction, and they have an extremely comprehensive, wonderful music program. And so I went to boot camp knowing that I was going to fulfill my 4 years as a musician. So they have a school of music in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which I attended after boot camp, and when I graduated, they asked me to stay on as the instructor. So I was piano instructor, Sergeant Phoenix, the piano instructor for the U.S. Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
For 4 years, and it was a great experience. And that was where I made my transition away from strictly classical music into many different popular styles, from big band, jazz, rock, country music, Latin music. I had to teach all that. So I had to learn it really fast.
Okay, so then you come out of the Marine Corps.
Came out of the Marine Corps and moved to California to seek my fame and fortune. And that didn't work out the way I kind of planned it, but I chased my tail for a couple of decades, playing in bands in the beach clubs and that type of thing. And it was a lot of fun, but didn't really lead anywhere. I ended up on the road with 2 twin brothers from Chile who were child stars in their home country, and now they're grown up. They're doing impressions and doing Frank Sinatra and it was an interesting job, but it wasn't for me really. So I was very happy when a friend of mine that I knew from the Marine Corps called me and said, "Hey, we need a keyboard player in Vegas. Would you come and be our keyboard player?" I said, "I'll be there as fast as I can get there."
And what year was this?
That was in '85.
Okay.
So I came here, played primarily with groups in the lounges. They always had a front person and a 4 or 5 piece group. and we were doing top 40 cover music, and these bands were really good, and Vegas was the place to be for musicians. It was hopping.
I'm sure.
Every casino had a lounge where the patrons could come for free and sit and be entertained. Kept them in the hotel, so when they wanted to gamble again, they were still there. But the quality of the music, it was tremendous.
So 1980s Las Vegas, you're here playing, and some of these properties are no longer even around anymore. So what were some of the classic properties that, people who are older would remember that you played in?
We worked all the hotels, the Sands, the Flamingo, all the big name hotels, the Aladdin. So in the 90s, I met a lady who was a marvelous vocalist, and she had come to town to put a band together and sing in the lounges, but that wasn't working out. So she was introduced to Debbie Reynolds, who had just opened her own hotel here. Debbie was singing in the lobby in the afternoons, and she used this lady, Maryanne, as a plant to come in and sing with her. And Debbie's musical director recommended me to write musical arrangements for this lady, Maryanne.
Wow.
Anyway, the story goes, she ran out of money and we made other arrangements. I ended up marrying her.
Okay.
And we worked together for a number of years as a duo. And her claim to fame is that she sang in every hotel that's been imploded.
Oh, wow.
So that was back in the day. Things have changed. At some point, I moved into doing solo piano work.
Okay.
And the first job that I had was at the Imperial Palace, which was lovely. I was there for 5 years and built up a little bit of a clientele, and it was really nice. And from there, I moved on, did some work at Caesars, did some work at the MGM Grand. Then the Bellagio was getting ready to open, and a friend of mine who was an agent called me and asked me if I wanted to audition for the Bellagio, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah. And so I showed up to the audition, tux and tails, and I really put on a show for them and had a super glossy promotional package. I just presented myself in the right way. They called me the next day and said, you have the job.
Wow.
So on my appointed day, I show up at the hotel to go to work. And Maryanne's with me. She's dressed to the nines. We're looking like $1 million, and my hair was a little different color then. And so we show up, and the security guard says, you can't come in this hotel. And I'm like, what do you mean? I work here. This is my job. He said, no, the hotel's not open. It's not open. I said, here's my contract. It says I'm starting to play the piano today, And so he looked at the contract. He says, that's good enough. He said, in you go. So in we went. And I played the piano for all the workers who were putting the finishing touches on everything and dusting the Chihuly chandelier and all that. And Maryanne, in an evening gown, she went strolling through the hotel. And no one knew who she was, but she was obviously someone very important. So she went to every restaurant, every little venue along the way, and people greeted her. Hey, you want to come in and see, what do you think of this? Or does this look, does this look right to you? Or whatever. She gave her approval on everything in the entire hotel, including the O show. And she got to see the hydraulics and how the stage goes up and down, the water comes in. And it was amazing. And I was playing to nobody and having a great time.
This was at 1998, correct?
98, October 14th. And they opened on the 15th.
So you've been here over now going 25 plus years.
This is our 25th anniversary this year, and it's coming up on the 15th. So it's been a marvelous time. I mean, I love this job. I love playing for people. I love putting a smile on people's face, making memories for them. Music has a way of recalling to mind certain poignant memories or whatever.
Right.
And so I do bring people's past back to their mind and put a smile on their face over that. And it's just wonderful. The hotel's been really good to me.
Yeah, because over these decades, you've gotten to play for millions of people. Millions of people have come through this property and they've heard your music and they've gotten to hear you play. And it's, I think it's a unique story that you're saying because, doing this work, you're self-employed. When you're in the music industry, you have to find your own work. So, to have, for that phone call, to think that one phone call
Yeah.
is what helped lead to over 2 decades of playing at one of the most iconic properties in all of Las Vegas for millions of people is, I think it was a story very much worth telling and sharing to other people here.
Well, yeah. And I've met a lot of interesting people here. I met Bruno Mars band here. I met guys from Aerosmith here. I have a selfie with Dog the Bounty Hunter and a lot of interesting people. But one man that I met was from Beverly Hills. He owned a shoe store. So we became pretty good friends. And he would come 3-4 times a year for either conventions or what have you, and always came to see me. And one day I got a package in the mail, a shoe box, and I opened it, and the most magnificent shoe that I'd ever seen were inside this box with a note that says, these shoes were imported from Italy for Elton John. He said he had gone to Italy himself, picked out 5 pair, brought them back, and Elton bought 4 of them and left this pair of shoes in the store. He said, they're your size. If you want them, keep them. So I wore them today for you. I don't know if we can see them in the video or not. Is it possible? But they're amethyst Swarovski crystal. And I've worn these shoes now for 23 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
And it's a testament to how well they're made because I've never lost a crystal, and I got a good story out of it too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a cool story. And I mean, also one of the things that's unique about, your work here, because you're self-employed doing this kind of thing, you've had people who, here at the property say they love what you do. They love to hear your music, and they say, hey, can you come play at my wedding? And things like that. You've had people just...
Yeah, I've done weddings and parties in town, out of town.
Uh-huh.
And I've met so many people here that over the years that return, they either return year after year, or in some cases, it passes from one generation to another.
Okay.
And the children are now coming here. Their parents have passed, and they still come here to remember the times they had with their parents.
That's cool. Speaking of the stories, let's see if we can go back for a minute. Can you remember what your first full day was here on October 15th, 1998? What do you remember from that day of that opening?
Well, I remember specifically the instrument that I'm playing on is magnificent. And I was extremely pleasantly surprised to walk into a job and be supplied an instrument of that caliber. And this is a Steinway piano made in New York, but it's a museum quality piece, and it's a unique piece. The case was designed by a furniture maker in New York, and it's an emulation piece that's made to look like an Art Deco masterpiece from the 30s, but it was made in 1997. But it's a beautiful piano, and that's the first thing I remember, is just what a joy it was to play on that instrument. But my playing, the music in general, was so well received by people, and as they pass through the lobby, they're hearing the music, it draws them in. And so the room was always full, it was always busy. And as I said before, I just loved putting a smile on these people's face and just meeting new people all the time. I have to say, it's been a great privilege and just an incredibly wonderful experience working in this property for all that time and seeing the changes that take place in the casino and in the areas around. But that bar that I play in really hasn't changed at all. They changed the look, they changed the carpets, they changed the chairs and what have you. But some of the other employees there have been there as long as I have from the first day. So it's a real family. I think this property just does an incredibly good job of making the guests comfortable and providing them everything they could possibly need. And one of those things is greeting them with music when they walk into the hotel.
Oh, well, you've obviously been great at it for 25 years now, and I'm sure many people are going to be looking forward to it for years to come.
Well, I hope so. I'm looking forward to another 20 years.
I was going to say, for sure people are going to say, like, he's not closing up the business anytime soon, not closing up shop anytime soon, right?
No.
Okay, good to know. Whitney, I do have to say thank you for joining me today and doing this. I was glad to be able to do this because this was certainly unique. I mean, the work you do is unique. This property is unique. This, Las Vegas is unique. And, the amount of people you've been able to impact over the years with your music is definitely something remarkable. So the fact that you continue to do it for years is going to be great, because I'm sure plenty of people now are going to come here and they're going to be looking to see you playing the piano and going to want to hear you play. So I do appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. And it's a privilege to speak with you. And it's a privilege to have been at this hotel for 25 years. And I'm looking forward to 25 more. It'll be fabulous.
Well, thank you, Whitney. So guys, we're going to sign off from here. From the Bellagio. That's gonna be it for this video. I am Jacob. This is My Life in Vegas.